Jim Jones, one of Dipset's loudest voices, started stirring the pot again, this time claiming he was the one who made Dipset what it is today. Fans were like, wait, what? Because those claims didn't just sound bold, they sounded delusional. And that's when things got ugly. Insiders say Camron and Mase weren't here for the rewriting of history. Nope, they came swinging, and the clapback turned into one of the wildest public takedowns hip-hop Twitter's ever seen. But this wasn't just some petty back and forth for clicks. Oh no, this went way deeper. Alleged screenshots started flying all over the internet. DMs between Mase and old Dipset affiliates, private group chats where disbelief turned into straight up rage. Fans were zooming in on every little detail, every side comment in interviews, every slick bar in a verse, even the shade tossed during red carpet appearances. Before anyone could blink, the hashtags were flooding every timeline. Hashtag fake Dipset claims, hashtag Mase exposes Jim Jones. People were losing it. Entire fan threads were popping up with timelines, receipts, and theories about what really went down behind closed doors. The more folks dug, the wilder it got. And just when it felt like the storm was calming down, boom! Camron dropped a cryptic interview that threw gasoline on the whole thing. One line had people replaying clips on loop, trying to decode what he really meant. The internet exploded, timelines caught fire, and everyone was left asking the same thing. What secret was Cam hinting at, and why now? This drama was only getting started. Stick around, because by the time we're done here, you'll see exactly how one careless sentence turned into a full-blown circus that left Dipset looking shaken. This wasn't just gossip. It was a public meltdown that had the whole hip-hop scene watching like it was a live episode of Chaos. You won't believe what just surfaced. It's that kind of story that makes everyone stop scrolling, clutch their phone and say, no way this is real. This drama had fans going off in the comments, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, even private group chats. People were sending screenshots at 3 a.m., arguing over what really went down behind the scenes. The situation was so messy, so tangled, it made even the die-hard Dipset fans question everything they thought they knew about their heroes. And get this, it all started from one single moment. One interview, one offhand comment that seemed harmless until it wasn't. That's the crazy part. Nobody saw it coming. Jim Jones, a longtime member of Dipset, casually dropped a line during an interview, claiming he was the one who helped make Dipset what it became. Just that one claim. Just that one tiny spark. But in hip-hop, every word hits like a bullet. The streets remember, the fans keep score, and in this game, perception is everything. The second Jim said that, Twitter lit up like wildfire. People were tagging Mase, Camron, and every Dipset affiliate, demanding answers. What started as a harmless soundbite suddenly had people picking sides, calling out receipts, and wondering who really built the empire. And from that moment on, it was clear, this wasn't just a disagreement, it was about to be war. Did Jim really just say he made Dipset? The internet didn't waste a second. One comment said, bro, Camron gonna lose it. And they were right. Within hours, screenshots started flooding timelines, some allegedly from old DMs between Jim and former associates, others supposedly from people deep in the inner circle. And here's the kicker, those so-called receipts weren't backing Jim up at all. According to folks close to the crew, Cam had been watching these little jabs for months, sitting back, taking notes, seeing how Jim would slip his name into every Dipset conversation, like he was rewriting the history books. Every interview, every podcast, every random social media post started to sound less like memories and more like a mission, a slow, sneaky play to paint himself as the architect of the movement. But insiders say, nah, that legacy wasn't his to claim. That's when Mase, who's usually the quiet, strategic one, decided he'd had enough. Word is, he caught wind of the situation and hit up a few trusted Dipset affiliates behind the scenes. The DMs, according to one leak, showed Mase keeping it real and straight to the point. One alleged message had him saying, yo, this ain't how it went. Let's clear it up. before he embarrasses himself. That one line alone set the internet on fire. Once whispers of those messages started circulating, everything exploded. Fans were already picking apart Jim's interviews like detectives. But now, the whole situation has hit another level. Hashtags like hashtag fake Dipset claims and hashtag Mase exposes Jim Jones were trending within hours. Memes were everywhere, people photoshopping fake group chats, zooming in on blurry timestamps, and posting exclusive leaks with typos that only made the chaos even funnier. Social media turned into a courtroom overnight. Fans became juries, threads turned into investigations, and every bar Jim ever spit about loyalty or brotherhood got pulled up for evidence. It was wild. People were saying, if this is true, Jim's been running a fake narrative for years. And the craziest part? Nobody knew which screenshots were real anymore. But at that point, it didn't even matter. The damage was already done, and Dipset's reputation was officially in the hot seat. The whole thing was pure chaos. But that kind of drama, that's exactly what the culture lives for. Hip-hop fans eat it up like it's popcorn at a movie. Camron, on his end, stayed silent at first. Not a word, no interviews, no statements, just calm. But that calm wasn't peace. It was pressure building. Insiders say that behind the scenes, Cam was heated. He'd been watching this narrative spin out of control and was ready to remind everyone who really built the Dipset empire. Word is, Cam started reaching out to old Dipset members, bringing up receipts from the early grind, studio sessions, photo shoots, street tapes, everything. He reportedly pointed out moments when Jim was barely around, or times he took credit for ideas that weren't even his. Cam wasn't just upset, he was done playing nice. Then, just when the internet thought the situation couldn't possibly get any messier, boom! Camron dropped a cryptic bomb on Instagram. He posted a pic of an old Dipset flyer from the early 2000s, the kind that screams vintage Harlem energy, and captioned it with a single line. Some people forget where they started, then added hashtag check receipts. That's it. No names, no tags, just smoke, and the internet lost its mind. Within minutes, fans were dissecting the post like it was a secret code. Is he talking about Jim? One person asked. Cam throwing subliminals again? Another replied. The comments were wild. Screenshots of the post spread across every corner of the internet, from Reddit threads to old-school hip-hop forums. Each repost made the speculation even louder, and while all this was going down, Jim Jones acted like nothing was happening. In another interview, he doubled down. He said he'd always been a key part of Dipset's success, and that some people just don't give credit where it's due. That line hit hard, and not in a good way. Fans were stunned, saying Jim was digging himself deeper, refusing to read the room. But just when folks thought this was the peak of the storm, things were about to take an even crazier turn, then things really blew up. Alleged messages from Dipset's old circle started leaking, and they weren't backing Jim's story one bit. One supposed DM said, "Yo Jim, you weren't even around for that show in 2002. Stop rewriting history." Another, allegedly from a friend close to Mase, read, "Cam sees through this, bro. Be careful." That's when the tension hit a whole new level. Fans went full detective mode, building timelines, digging through archives, trying to piece together who was really there during Dipset's rise. Every post, every lyric, every grainy video clip from the early 2000s was getting analyzed like courtroom evidence. Social media turned into a courtroom, and Jim Jones, he was the one sitting in the hot seat, the defendant in the court of public opinion. It didn't take long for the chaos to spread like wildfire. Old Dipset members, the ones who had been quiet for years, started breaking their silence. Some posted subtle emojis, others dropped cryptic comments that only added to the confusion. One alleged text from an insider said, "The family's divided." Some feel Jim crossed the line, others just watching the mess unfold. And believe it or not, that message summed up the whole vibe perfectly. YouTube comment sections turned into war zones. "Cam and Mase are the truth," one user wrote. "Jim's lying. We all know it." Another fired back. It was chaos, straight up digital pandemonium. Fans were posting receipts left and right. screenshots of supposed DMs, old posts from long deleted accounts, even throwback flyers trying to prove who really built Dipset from the ground up. By now, the whole culture was watching. Nobody knew what was real or fake anymore, but that didn't matter. The narrative had taken a life of its own. The Dipset legacy, once untouchable, was being picked apart in real time. And Jim? He was getting dragged in every corner of the internet. And just when people thought the drama had peaked, it was about to get even uglier. Even old interviews from the early 2000s were getting dragged out and picked apart frame by frame, literally. Fans were pausing, zooming in, and analyzing every tiny gesture, every background voice, every look. The culture lives for this kind of mess, drama that feels way bigger than music. And this was peak chaos. It had that perfect mix of nostalgia, tension, and betrayal that hip-hop gossip dreams are made of. But here's the real kicker. Just when it seemed like Jim Jones might finally back down, boom, another leak hit the internet. An alleged conversation surfaced, supposedly between Jim and a mutual friend of Camron and Mase. According to the screenshots, the friend warned him straight up, "Yo, stop this before it blows up. They're not playing." Jim's alleged reply, "I got this. I'm just speaking my truth." And that's when everything flipped. Because right after that, the whole situation went from messy to humiliating. Cam and Mase, after months of sitting back and letting Jim talk, finally decided to move, and they didn't hold back. Suddenly, there were public interviews where both of them started hinting at revised history. Then came the social media posts, short captions, old photos, subtle disses, dropped like bombs, all perfectly timed to shred Jim's version of events. They were playing chess while he was still running his mouth. The streets couldn't get enough. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, every platform lit up. Fans were glued to their screens like detectives chasing clues. Compilation videos started popping up, showing side-by-side clips of Jim's interviews against old Dipset footage and receipts from back in the day. The evidence was stacking up, and it wasn't looking good for Jim. Twitter threads stretched for pages. People were analyzing his tone, body language, and facial expressions like it was a courtroom testimony. Even folks who weren't deep into Dipset history suddenly had opinions. That's how massive it got. And at this point, it wasn't just a beef. It was a full-blown cultural event. The saga had taken over every corner of hip-hop media, and Jim, he was officially standing in the middle of the storm. Memes flooded Instagram faster than you could refresh your feed. Captions like, "Check the receipts before you claim the throne," were everywhere. Fan pages turned into full-on investigation hubs, breaking down timelines, comparing photos, and posting receipts versus reality. Slides like, "This was a true crime case." What started as one offhand comment had now transformed into a massive online spectacle. And everyone was tuned in like it was a live series dropping episode by episode. For fans, this wasn't just gossip, it was entertainment. They were glued to every update, every leak, every cryptic post. Hip-hop blogs were dropping breaking news alerts daily, and YouTube creators were uploading breakdown videos with titles like "The Truth Behind Jim Jones, Dipset Lies." The chaos had become must-watch content. And just when it felt like things might finally calm down, the story took another wild twist. A new alleged screenshot surfaced, this time supposedly showing Jim messaging a close friend, asking for help keeping the story alive. In the message, he reportedly said he needed to assert his place in Dipset history. Fans went crazy. Within hours, the internet was flooded with theories. Some said it was fake, others swore it was real, but either way, everyone was talking about it. The drama turned social media into an all-out battlefield. Twitter threads, Instagram lives, TikTok duets. People were taking sides, analyzing every post, and accusing each other of bias. Every new leak added more gas to the fire, and at this point, the story was feeding itself, a snowball, rolling downhill, getting bigger with every spin. Camron and Mase weren't just defending their legacy anymore, they were correcting the narrative. With every sly post and every perfectly timed interview, they hit back with precision. It wasn't just shade, It was strategy. They moved like veterans of the culture, letting Jim talk himself into a corner while they slowly, methodically exposed what they called a false history. The result? Total digital domination. And Dipset's name was once again at the center of hip-hop's biggest headline. By now, the tension had hit a fever pitch. Every fan, every blogger, every casual scroller had picked a side. Some were riding with Cam and Mase, others still defending Jim. But at this point, the truth itself was getting buried under a mountain of chaos. The real story, who was there, who did what, who really built Dipset, had been swallowed whole by the internet's obsession with drama, memes, and viral outrage. It wasn't just a story anymore, it was spectacle. And here's the thing, in hip-hop, perception hits just as hard as reality. Once the culture decides what's true, it becomes true. And that's exactly what happened here. The mix of leaked messages, cryptic posts, insider whispers, and fan-made evidence turned this whole situation into something explosive, messy, and straight up unforgettable. Social media wasn't just watching, it was playing the game. You could feel it everywhere. In the comment sections, in the endless threads, in every repost with eyes emojis and fire reactions, fans weren't just spectators anymore, they were participants, detectives, and hype men all at once. Meanwhile, every single move Jim made in public only made things worse. Each defensive comment, every interview, every tweet felt like another log on the fire. The more he tried to control the story, the faster it slipped out of his hands. Every word was twisted, every tone analyzed. The humiliation was layered. Camron and Mase, though, they were calm, calculated. They'd set the stage like pros, dropping their jabs with perfect timing. Every hint, every old clip, every subtle comment was like a chess move, slow, deliberate, and devastating. The audience was locked in, refreshing feeds like it was a live series. Everyone wanted to know what would happen next. Would Jim clap back? Would Cam go public with more proof? Would Mase finally speak directly? The suspense was wild. And the craziest part? Even after all this, the saga was nowhere near over. The leaked DMs, the cryptic posts, the tension simmering between these heavyweights. It was all building towards something even bigger. Fans could feel it coming. The next move was bound to shake the culture again. Would Jim Jones clap back? Would Mase or Cam take it even further? Nobody knew. And that's what made the whole thing so addictive. It wasn't just music beef anymore. It was cinema. The kind of real-life drama that pulls everyone in. Fans, insiders, bloggers, even people who hadn't cared about Dipset in years. It was messy, unpredictable, and oh so entertaining. And just when the internet thought the storm had finally peaked, boom! The next wave slammed in like a freight train. Camron, who had been sitting silent, cool, and collected, finally decided enough was enough. Word is, he hit up a few trusted insiders and told them straight, find everything. Old footage, concerts, interviews, radio tapes, anything that proves what really happened. And guess what? It all started leaking. Bit by bit, the internet got flooded with receipts. Screenshots popped up showing Jim taking credit for moments he allegedly had nothing to do with. Fans couldn't scroll for 5 seconds without seeing new evidence getting dropped, and each post just made things worse for Jim. Then came the knockout punch, a resurfaced clip from an old 2003 radio interview. In it, Camron could be heard clearly saying, "We started this together and Jim joined later." Boom! That line hit the internet like dynamite. Fans were losing it. One comment under the clip read, "See that? He said it himself." Jim wasn't even there from day one. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, fans were replaying it, slowing it down, zooming in, trying to read every expression on Cam's face. It wasn't just nostalgia anymore, it was evidence. By now, the Dipset drama wasn't just trending, it was dominating. Everyone wanted to see what Jim would say next, how Mase would move, and whether Cam was about to drop more from the vault. The internet smelled blood, and this time, there was no going back. "Jim's not even in the building yet, but he's talking like he's running the show," one fan commented, and that line summed it all up perfectly. Meanwhile, Mase was behind the scenes, quietly stoking the flames. Alleged DMs leaked to fan pages showed him messaging close associates saying, "Time to set the record straight. Jim needs to see the receipts." Another supposed message from someone close to the Dipset circle read, "He's about to get embarrassed, and the internet won't let it slide." And guess what? That's exactly what went down. Within hours, fans had turned into full-blown archivists, creating side-by-side comparison videos, Jim's claims versus the real footage, and old photos from the early Dipset days. The tension was electric. You could feel it in every scroll, every clip, every meme that popped up. The Dipset family, once tight-knit, was now divided. Some old members reportedly sided with Cam and Mase, while others stayed silent, afraid that jumping in would only make the situation worse. But the drama didn't stop there. It exploded. Instagram feeds filled with shady captions, Twitter threads stretched for miles, and YouTube lit up with hot takes and reaction videos. Then Camron struck again, this time during an interview. No names, no direct callouts, just a sly, calm line that hit like a bullet. Some people try to rewrite history, but the truth always comes out. The internet erupted. One fan tweeted, "Cam just clowned Jim in 12 words." Another posted, "Receipts everywhere. Internet is on fire." Even the YouTube comments were going wild. One viewer wrote, "This is like a hip-hop version of Game of Thrones, but real." People couldn't get enough. Every new clip, every insider rumor, every tiny detail was being dissected and debated like court evidence. Journalists, bloggers, and hip-hop vloggers jumped in, dropping hour-long breakdowns of the situation. Some even claimed to have exclusive insider sources, posting alleged screenshots of private messages from Jim, where he was supposedly trying to justify his statements, saying he was just speaking his truth. But by then, the narrative was out of his hands. The culture had already decided, and once the streets lock in on a story, there's no rewinding it. Jim's rep took a hit. Cam and Mase came out looking untouchable, and Dipset's legacy had been dragged right back into the spotlight for an entirely new generation to judge. And if you've been riding this wave from start to finish, you already know this isn't just drama, it's hip-hop history in motion. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on Juicy Reel, cause trust me, the next twist in this saga, you don't want to miss it.